414 participants are there.
I joined.
Yeah.
I cannot see all features here. Can you start, madam?
Only 4 participants.
Yeah. How many, sir?
Total 71 are present.
Yeah, we'll wait for some more time, sir. Director, sir.
Sir, yes, we
Shall
will
we
wait,
wait for-
sir. Because
Shall we
it
wait
is
for-
at 9 o'clock. It is at 9 o'clock.
Why? Hello, sir.
Some participants join.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Venkeshwar, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar. How are you all?
Good morning. Good morning.
Fine.
Good morning, all of you. Director Saab, HOD Saab, and others.
Madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
This was
This is international webinar, not national.
This, yeah.
really
The speaker is
inspiring.
from outside.
Very much inspirational, sir.
Can you guys? Yeah, నా వాయిస్ వినిపిస్తుందా అండి మీకు? సుమంత్ ఫ్రమ్ కాలిఫోర్నియా హియర్.
Voice clear enough.
Hi.
Yeah, Suman, sir.
Yeah. Dr. Suman.
Yeah.
Madam.
Yeah,
Very
we'll make it like more fun and educational today. Hello?
Yes, sir. Hi, Sneha.
So we are
Hi. I'm glad people are showing interest in joining Shova.
Yeah.
Introduce all of us.
Two people from Optum Technology USA, Mr. Suman and also Mrs. Sneha. Sneha was in US, and Sneha and Suman, we have Lakshmipati Rao sir, who is the director of Methodist. Hello, sir. And we have Venkateshwar Rao sir,
Hello, everyone.
who's the dean of Methodist. And we have Sachin sir also, who is the administrative officer of Methodist. Sir.
I'm glad to meet all our distinguished people here.
Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you.
We are very happy to associate with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Sneha and myself working on a project, same company now. So I'm working from California and she's from Georgia.
Now the time is
How
around
is everything going there?
8:15 for you. Your time is 8:15.
Yeah, sir, we can start, I think, sir. Principal, sir.
Yeah, no problem. But let the participant, what is the number of participants, madam?
Participants number is more only, sir.
77, I think, 76 or 77.
Yeah, presently we have. Sir.
Shubha, madam. All
Yes.
participants, you make their video and audio muted.
Yeah, we have done it, sir.
And all, warm welcome to all. I am Dr. Prabhu Benkop, Principal Methodist Engineering and Technology, BITS. By Mr. Sumant Chintagunta, Senior Principal Engineer, Optum Technology, California, USA. Warm welcome, sir. Sumant, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be part of this.
I appreciate the faculty of
Yeah,
Department of ECE and HOD for this webinar. Like ECE, EEE, of course for CSC, etc. So obviously this will have a more informative session. During this COVID-19, the education system, in particular technical education, is badly affected. Practical classes. We need to blend both online and offline as a teaching methodology, and it is very much necessary. For teachers, for technical teachers, we were more with a technology, teaching methodology, course materials, presentation skills to meet the requirement of online teaching, which really exhibiting their talents, teaching skills, and which becomes a transparent to everyone. No, you cannot hide. So earlier the classroom teaching was in a classroom only, where it was restricted to the classroom. Now it is an open teaching. So all the teachers should improve, update their teaching skills and delivery time to meet the requirement of completion of syllabus within the stipulated time. Anyway,
and we are awaiting for the expert committee visit, as the visit are not yet scheduled due to COVID-19. And the institution is also ISO 9001-2015 certified. Have professional memberships in many of the reputed organizations, industry, institute interaction, tie-up for faculty student exchange programs in summer vacations, giving a complete practical exposure to our students in the real world. 20 MOUs in operation with industry and premier companies for technology exchange. Value addition courses through Vivekananda Institute of Human Excellence, Ramakrishna Math, under MOU. Recognition as a nodal center in Telangana for fast spoken tutorials by IIT Mumbai. Recognition as an active college for past 3 years for NPTEL and SWAYAM courses. Blended teaching methodologies evolved effectively. The college is geared up for the conduction of online examinations. And today's webinar on progressive web application development is organized by Professor N.S. Shobha, the head of the ECE department. Professor N.S. Shobha is heading the department since its inception and is instrumental in developing the department and providing able leadership. The resource person for today's seminar is Mr. Suman from California, and PWA is the topic. PWA is a very important and latest area having wide applications in our daily lives. I am given to understand that lately there have been a lot of buzz around PWAs, with many claiming it to be future of web development, especially in terms of mobile devices. Some of the progressive web applications include online forms, shopping carts, video and photo editing, word processors, file conversions, email programs such as Gmail, Yahoo Mail, etc. Most popular and Make My Trip, supply chain giants like Alibaba, Flipkart, etc. Pinterest, the video and photo editing, to name few, are these apps, and we are familiar with these apps. I hope today's webinar will expose the participants, numbering about 400 plus, to the insights of PWA development. I am confident that they will be benefited by this webinar. On behalf of the management, myself, and the faculty, I extend a warm welcome to the resource person, Mr. Suman Chintagunta from Optum Technologies, California, USA. I profusely thank him for accepting the invitation and for spending his valuable time with us. Now I
Suman sir, I'll give the introduction.
You guys can hear me. Please.
Yeah, I'll give the introduction, Suman sir, and then the session will begin. So I start by inviting a bright and pleasant morning to all the participants of varied background, and also the 2 members team from the Optum Technology USA, and also to all my colleagues and my dear faculty members. Mr. Suman started his professional career in 1999 as software engineer working for startups in Bay Area. Later, he joined Hewlett Packard as senior systems engineer, where he was managing large-scale transactional multi-regional websites, performing system design, process re-engineering, configuration management, and performance tuning. Sumant is specialist in high-performance computing and real-time streaming analytics, with an experience gained over 20 years working with diverse companies and large-scale transactional and big data domains, including healthcare, financial, online marketplaces, ticketing, and mobile applications. He's a full-stack developer, technical evangelist, and enthusiastic advocate of functional microservices, 12-factor SPA and mobile services utilizing NLU and AI. At Optum, Mr. Sumant has contributed to cloud infrastructure roadmaps, technologies. He built multi-cluster provisioning platform on Kubernetes. He evangelized API management, Cassandra, IoT, blockchain, streaming, analytics, and ETL and Hadoop. Resiliency, responsive UX, and high-performance computing frameworks to developer community, sharing POCs, presentations, and documentations through blogs and GitHubs. With a passion of creating value with a business, Mr. Sumant uses modern architecture to facilitate scalability and resiliency. Having background in infrastructure and software development, he believes in applying an understanding of the hardware to the creation of software being fundamental to delivering elegant, high-performance solutions. Sumant enjoys several hobbies outside the computer, including growing organic vegetables and traveling. I hereby invite Mr. Sumant to carry on with the session.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Hi, Shobha.
Sumant. Wonderful introduction,
Sure.
Shobha, and the distinguished people. I would like to add 2 more things about Sumant. So we are working on a new platform that will be launched for India as well, along with a lot of worldwide implementations. Actually, protocols were already developed and implemented in India, but it is too early to talk about that. And it is going to change the way we are looking at many, many things in India. That's work in pipeline, and you will be surprised one day very soon.
Thank you so much, Sneha.
It's all about you.
We welcome you.
Here you go. Yeah, thank you.
So it's an elaborate description of myself. I was very amazed listening all the things you explained about me. Thank you very much for a great introduction. And I was very delighted to be part of this presentation. The reason being is when I was a student, I always felt that there is a disconnect between the students and industry. And I thought like if we have industrial experience and exposure, when Subha asked me to see if I can present something for the students, I felt very happy because this is one way of educating our students and direct them towards the industry. What skills they need for the future career. I hope that my audio is coming clear. Should I speak slowly or is it fine?
No, it is echoing. Everybody else, would you please mute your phone so that Sumant can deliver what he plans to?
Okay. So I hope there is no more echo. I hope that you can hear my voice clearly now. let me share my deck, and I want to take this time and your time, valuable time, to transfer some knowledge for you so that you can get a better career, and hopefully it will point you in the right direction to get a good job. So that is my motive for this today. Let's share my screen quickly. I hope you can see my screen. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I know that we have talked about progressive web apps. I know that you guys hear a lot of buzzwords time to time. Things are changing, progressive web apps, serverless computing, on variety of technologies, AI, artificial intelligence, and maybe augmented reality, all these terms. But why I choose this topic especially for the students, is because it makes you to jump into the career path very quickly. And it is very easy entry point into the IT industry. And second thing is, there is a wide number of job opportunities in this sector, because every business in the world need a website or a user interface or an app to bring their services to the end users. Of course, there are a lot of other areas, but this is a wide, more job opportunities area. So that's why I choose to give some basic introduction about this technology. Let's talk about what is the user experience. It's very critical. User experience is very critical. No matter what high-end backends you build, user experience, without proper user experience, customer cannot able to receive the value of your product, right? So the evolution of user experience has continued to make it easy to interact with the technology. The main factor here is making it more convenient to access the information, right? We started with mainframes where you have to type, and then we got mouse and keyboard where you can able to click and interact with the systems. Later on, we got iPads and phones where you can touch and interact with the systems. Nowadays, I bet you all know that you can interact with the computers or the cell phones with voice. So it makes it easier for interacting with the system and get information without even putting more effort. So that is the direction in the industry is moving towards. So one of the prediction from Gartner is this year more than 30% of the ways users interact with the system is via voice. So with screenless mode. I know that even in India, we have a lot of adoption with Siri or Alexa and other devices. So UI doesn't mean it's always like a web applications, but it is always about how you interact with computers. This technology continuously evolving over the time, and I hope that we will see even more better, easier interactions like augmented reality, using your glasses to view the information at any point and at your convenience. Coming back to my background, my name is Sumant, and you heard a lot about me. Soba explained about all my background. I came to States in 1999. That is the boom time. Luckily, I was at the time where web technology was booming, and they call it as like a web .com bust or whatever you call. So that time internet was boomed, and also it failed in a couple of years, but it continuously grown later. So I went to Bay Area where all the tech companies are concentrated, and I got a great opportunity to work with the elegant companies there. And to give a little bit more background, even though I worked for many years, like almost 20 plus years, I predominantly focus on writing code as a developer, and I enjoy coding. And I hope even if I retire, I will be coding with my grandkids. So that's my goal. Second thing is I like learning new languages, especially in computer areas. From beginning of my career, I focused on Java language. Almost survived for 15 plus years, JavaScript. But recently, from last 4 or 5 years, I started learning many languages, that including some JVM languages like Kotlin, and also Go language, Rust, JavaScript, TypeScript, Swift language, all the stuff. So the beauty of these languages, new languages coming in, they are very similar. So if you learn any modern language, you always feel like native to learn other things. Like for example, if you learn Kotlin, it is pretty similar to learn Apple's language called Swift language, which is used for iOS application development. I will encourage you, and fortunately you are in the right time for where languages are becoming like proliferated, and you can choose your language to build your apps. And I'm also open source contributor, and you can see that my daily contribution to the open source on GitHub here. Okay. So let's focus on the agenda today. So I want to give you a big picture of this presentation is predominantly focused for the students, whether you're in the second, third, fourth year of the engineering graduation, and also the people who want to enter into the IT as a software engineer. And there are many paths to go enter into the IT career. As I said before, web application development might be the easiest, and more opportunities will be there, not just today, but in the future also. So I will be showing you how you can become a web application developer in a clear, like a step-by-step process. I also will give you an introduction about what is front-end technologies, because in the industry, in IT industry, people are always classified themselves as a front-end developer, or they classify themselves as a back-end developer. So the reason being is the domain is very vast, and the technologies used in the front end is different than the technologies used in the back end. So it takes a long time for them to become an expert in both areas. So I will be showing you today how you can become a full stack engineer, not just focusing on the back end or just focusing on the front end. And this is going to help you a lot in progressing in your career. Not only that, you don't need to rely on somebody else for doing your back end or somebody else to do your front end. So that gives you like a versatile opportunities for you, and it is not that difficult. So the reason I'm thinking that you can become a full stack engineer from the beginning instead of focusing on either front end, back end is we hire a lot of college grads in US, almost 800 people in Optum every year from the universities. And I was given some college apprentice students. And I was thinking that it took me like almost 4 to 5 years to become a full stack engineer. And I wanted to challenge myself to see if I can able to train a fresh college grad to become a full stack engineer 8 months. So I took that challenge and I trained a person to only focus on some certain technologies, like learning only one language, one goal. So it was very productive. I see that person was able to become a professional within a short time. Another thing I want to explain to you is how you structure your projects. Like monorepos becoming popular. Like if you look at the Google or Facebook, they both has a single repo for entire repository, billions of lines of code. You will be surprised that how come they manage that much code in a single repository. What are the benefits of having a monorepos, right? And the next thing we will be talking about is a cloud deployment. So when you build an application, unless you deploy it and make it automatically make money for you, there is no use, right? So deployment and operationalization is also one of the other skills you need to have. This area is called like DevOps, or how you take your code and make a product out of it, right? So Google also calls this as a SRE, Site Reliability Engineer. That's a new name for the DevOps. I think there is some echo coming in the background. If somebody can somebody mute their voice? So one of the voice coming in like with a lot of echo in the background. Okay, so it's better now. I hope like you guys can hear my voice clear. So I hear a lot of echo, but I hope you guys hear me. Okay. So today we are going to talk about some basics like fundamentals, right? Uh, be lucky to be a student right now because you don't need to work, but you have a time to learn, and your parents are taking care. So take this opportunity to learn fundamentals. They are very essential, even though you cannot see the value in the beginning. I will explain to you like how the fundamentals you learn in college, they will help you to become a professional in the future, right? So you focus on algorithms and data structures, which is part of your career, and don't ignore them. I ignore it, and I had to face problems because every interview I go there, they will ask me algorithm questions, and I have to brush up myself. I buy a book right now and reading those things. Second thing is when we're talking about full application is not just like what web application is. There is a lot of moving parts in the application that includes web apps, mobile apps, backend database, and cloud technologies. These are all together works as a business. We'll talk about how to progress and learn technologies in a progressive way in that area. Today's focus is on web applications, and I divide the web application area into 3 segments. First thing is web components. They are like minute, small components that an individual developer make it, and those components can be reused across the applications. For example, a simple button or an icon, right? Those are the web components. They are reusable. They have behavior, and they have the actionable appearance. And second thing is called micro-frontends. This is a new term. Probably not many people heard about it. You might have heard about something called microservices. Microservices are basically a methodology to build backend applications into smaller applications, like smaller web services. Typically, in the past, we are building like big monolithic applications. What the drawback with monolithic applications is whenever you want to release a new features, you have to bring the entire application down. Like imagine that Amazon application has to be completely shut down for patching the application and losing them billions of dollars with that one, right? So to overcome that kind of limitations, people started dividing the application to small micro pieces. They call microservices, and that becomes popular from last 5 to 6 years. Why can't we use the same technology for the UI applications? That's where the micro-frontends came in. There was an excellent article. I included a link in the end of the session here. So you will get more details about micro-frontends and the significance value of the micro-frontends. I will give you a little bit overview when we go there. And the last important thing is the actual full application. That is the entire application that we call single page applications. We'll discuss about what is the value of single page applications compared to a typical multi-page applications. As a part of this journey, we'll be talking about client-side rendering versus server-side rendering. What is the difference between it, and what the value you get doing either server-side or client-side rendering. And we will visit also a responsive design. The meaning of a responsive design is when you build an application, if it opened into iPhone, you might have seen that it is distorted. And if you go to any popular big websites, they are not properly rendered properly. That is because the designer of the application doesn't take care of our different sizes of the screens. Like you might be accessing the system with iPad, iPhone, or a full desktop. So I will teach you how you can make a single application that looks beautiful in all the screens, different size of screen. And the next important thing is content management, because when you talk about web applications, content also plays a critical role. Not every application is interactive application. In some of the applications like newspapers or banking or healthcare industry, they have a lot of content they have to present to the customers. And we need to understand what is the new trends in the content. And finally, how you make your product as operationalize the product, delivering the product, right? So you might have heard about terms like CI/CD. What it means is continuous integration and continuous delivery. This term is becoming CIO and CTO's favorite term because they like to have it automated so that they can reduce the resources needed to operationalize the product. So we'll talk about how the CI/CD is going to help us to make operations and maintenance easy. Okay, let's focus on this. This is the one I want to tell you how something I learned in college has helped me in later on when I was working with Optum. We are building a big the state's second largest Kubernetes cluster. And one of the challenge we had was we have a lot of physical servers, and we have the data. We have applications. Every application has different capacity needs. Some applications need 5 CPUs and 5 GB RAM. Some of them need like just 2 CPUs cores and 1 GB RAM. And we have a bunch of workloads like that. We have a fixed number of data center servers, and they are not same size because we bought them at different prices and different times of the times over the time. And our goal was how I can able to fit them properly into those physical boxes. So this is the area of my professor in mechanical engineering in Anantapur JNTU taught us something called operation research. I was not able to focus at that time. I didn't understand what the value there. But one of the things he talked about is bin packing. So the algorithms that helps you to represent those problems into a quadratic equation format, so that you can able to optimize your solution. And that includes like a travel salesman's problem, and you might have heard about other like scheduling problems. So these are all falls under the operations research area. And one of the case, as I said before, the same problem solution helped me to become an sorry. Let me take this one off. So this is where the technology doesn't work. Sorry. Let me mute this thing. So, so here you can see that to fit this kind of 4 apps into 2 servers I have, one is 6 CPUs and 6 GB RAM, and 6 CPUs, 7 CPUs and 6 GB RAM. It was so hard to figure out. Sorry, I got call from my parents, my mom calling from India. So yeah, I'll communicate to her. So second thing I used is same technology I have to use in one of the banking sector I worked, where we were mortgage lenders. We collect the mortgage, we sell the mortgage loans. We have to pool them to sell it to investors. So when we want to group some risk, different risk kind of mortgage loan packages into packages, so that investors can able to buy them, like low risk investments with respect to the high risk investments. So that is also one of the other area where operation research and things helps us. I just want to give a heads up that things you learn in the college, never think that they will be not useful, but at some point of your life, they will be useful. Coming back to the web technologies, so what driving us to go with the modern technology? So I know that this is a modern technology compared to 2010 with 2015, but by the time right now, we're all using web technology. Web technology is already modernized. So I want to give you a little bit history. We used to do a lot of work on server side and do very little work on the browser. As you can see in the browser, we only make session management, form validation, styling, and presentation. And heavy lifting was done on the server side, like routing, rendering, caching, localization, personalization, access control, authentication, authorization. All those things are happening on the server side. But as the browsers are becoming more stronger, the people are buying more expensive laptops and desktops, and computers are becoming more cheaper and more powerful. We don't need to do that much work on the server side. Why can't we leverage and distribute the workload to the browsers so that servers can do less work? So this is the motivation. There is also a commercial benefit for the companies by shifting the workloads from the server side to browsers. We can able to reduce the cost of operations. So this is one of the main reason why we are adopting a browser side rendering or a heavily browser based applications. Right. And to give you a little more details about this, typically web applications, when you have a non-progressive web apps, you generally, when you click a link, the life cycle of the page rendering is the page has to be loaded. that is called a template, and then it has to load all the JavaScript, all the images, and then the content and CSS files. Then it will able to render present that to the end user. When you click one more link on the page, the entire life cycle will start from the beginning, right? Entire cache is gone. You started a new link, you loaded again the HTML page and CSS and HTML, blah, 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 right? So this process is not efficient because a lot of web application, most of the content is same. Header, footer, bottom size, your preference. Like for example, if you go to the Amazon.com, your orders and all the things in the top, that doesn't need to be changed when you navigate from page to page. Only thing it changes is when you're browsing the products, you only see the middle part of the section. So this is where the people realize that they're wasting a lot of resource on the browser, because how much time it takes for the full page render is very critical for some businesses. You know, if Amazon page loading slows down like at 1 second, they will lose millions of dollars. So their predominant goal is to make that experience better. So that's where the people realize that instead of rendering entire page, why can't you render only bits and pieces? So if they navigate from one product to other product, only update the section of that page, right? That was not possible in the past, but with JavaScript matured a lot in recent years, it was very much possible to do that. That's where all these fancy new frameworks emerged, like including Angular, which was started almost like 2013 onwards. It was really old. Then React and Vue.js, Svelte.js, all these new frameworks make it so possible to build this kind of applications. So this page even depicts the same thing I explained before, like multi-page way of communication versus single-page way of communication. As you see here, what we call as a kind of template or layout, or what you can call it as an op shell. Shell will be loaded first. Then when lazily, the rest of the page will be lazily loaded. The content, advertisement, maybe personalized information will be loaded asynchronously from the browser. The benefit of this approach is user doesn't need to look at the blank page while everything is loaded. So you can get a partial rendered page first, so that people will feel engaged, and data will be loaded with respect to whatever the speed they connect to the network. The second thing is, since we are loading only incrementally in the second approach, single page applications, you are going to reduce the network overhead on the network. That means if they are on the 3G network or even slower networks, they don't feel that the page rendering is so slow. So because you are transferring very less data. The second benefit of this new approach is lot of material can be cached. For example, images, CSS content can be cached, and the only thing that transmit over the network is the dynamic data, that is JSON. But presentation data, if you visit some pages, the CSS and HTML is same. Only thing it differs from one product to other product is a product description. Then we don't need to load all the data, right? We just need to load rest of the thing cached on the browser, but only load the specific information, right? This improves the user experience, at the same time reduce the cost and burden on the network and backend systems. Okay, so let's come to technologies, right? Okay, I understand the benefit of the web technologies and the new approach, what we call as a single page applications, versus you understand that what's the difference between multi-page applications and single page applications. And you might have already seen a lot of single page applications emerging. Like I use a lot Netflix, and also I use Google Cloud. They're all built with technologies like Angular. And I see that the responsiveness is very better compared to other technologies. So here I want to give you, not to focus one option, but I want to give you what technologies are popularly available for you to build single page applications. So major dominating technologies right now is Angular and React from Facebook. Angular is from Google. Vue.js is from community. And all of them are very popular. With respect to the about technology, web technology, there is a corresponding in mobile application technologies. Native script is Angular based for building the native application for both iOS and Android applications. Similarly, React based technology called React Native helps you to build both Android and iOS applications. And Ionic is other technology that you can use it not only for Vue.js, but also with React and Angular. So what it means is if you learn a technology, simple web technology like CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, you can apply the same thing to mobile technologies. You don't have to be a iOS developer. You don't have to be a Android application developer. You can build a similar experience apps by using the same knowledge you learn in one language. This is what I'm telling for the new developers, that if you learn JavaScript, the mature version of the JavaScript they call TypeScript. If you learn TypeScript, you can be a full-fledged application developer, not only the UI applications, but also a mobile applications. When I talk mobile application, this is not like embedding a mobile website into the mobile apps. It is building a full applications. Okay, let's take to the next level. So, okay, you recommended Angular. You might ask, then how do I take advantage of this, right? So when you have an Angular expert, when you become an Angular expert, you can use technology like Electron and Angular Universal Apps to build desktop applications. When I say desktop, we still have a lot of desktop applications. Your Word, your Excel sheet, they're all desktop applications. So it is possible to build desktop applications today, like Slack or some other applications, using the technology like Angular and web technologies. So what they are doing is they bundle your app, your web technologies in a native way, so that you can run it on the desktop. So your browser cannot access your your OS file system, but this desktop application can able to access. That's one benefit. So second thing is progressive web apps. I will explain to you why I call progressive web apps, or industry call it as progressive web apps. They are derived from the single page applications, but with some extra benefits. We'll talk about what are the extra things you should add to make it to call your web apps as a progressive web apps. So we'll go in detail, so we don't need to discuss that piece now. Other Angular-based technology called NativeScript. It is very popular technology that allows me to build iOS and Android apps. In United Health Group, we have a division called healthcare apps. We bought a company for $1 billion. It's a Rally that does IoT. So all the healthcare customers will get a watch, Apple Watch, and as long as they can give us some data, their daily life, they have to get up and walk. Sometimes we have to measure all the people's activities and build a data center, our data. Right? We use the data for different kind of analytics internally. For that, I have to build a mobile app. So I use NativeScript. You can find that app in my GitHub. I'll show you with a few minutes. I was using the JavaScript-based technology, but I was able to tap into the sensors data. I have a Microsoft Watch. That watch has so many sensors. The Microsoft never exposed those sensors data. So I was able to build an app with JavaScript and Angular, both for iOS and Android apps. So, okay. Let me take to the next level. So, okay, you explained me about all the benefits of the mobile technology and web technologies and the opportunities, but how do I have a zero knowledge? I don't even know how to code. Like, can you show me an approach to become a web developer? So that's where I felt the value. That's where I built something called Starter Kit. When I say Starter Kit, my primary intention of the Starter Kit is a new developer doesn't have all the technical experience, but they want to build a professional quality web applications. So they need to have some starting project. So we as developers, we imitate some other successful developers. That's how we learn things, right? So to make that easy, I built this Starter Kit app. I'm going to demonstrate to you. I hope that you can able to build more commercial apps using that baseline code. In my experience, when I give the Starter Kit to my developers, they are able to save almost 3 to 4 months of human hours of work in any project. So you can build apps on top of it, but you don't need to do from the scratch, right? If you are doing, my approach is always somebody might have solved some problems. I will build on top of their experience instead of gaining my own experience. So with that, I will going to show you my Starter Kit app and give you insights about this. Okay. So this is one of the app I built. The intention is to show you that what is the essential parts of an application, modern applications. So this is what they call, what you are seeing here is called landing page apps. So most of the times you will see any commercial application like banks or healthcare industry or anything like that, product companies, they will have a marketing page in the beginning, right? This is typically what the intention is. You will have the call to action kind of action things like signing up for you to a contract or making you a customer for a cloud service or something like that. And most of the content is not interactive. It's basically predominantly static content. Here you can see that mostly I am able to present the user experience like almost like an app experience here. The animations, the things go behind the scene. This is very important because this page has to be cached and should be loaded very fast so that you don't lose the customers who don't like the lazy loading. This is fine for right now because it is already cached. It is very fast. But imagine that if you are first time accessing this page, it is going to be very slow because everything has to be loaded. So I will explain to you how you can able to preload this content into the browser as soon as they enter this thing. Before I click this link, there is a technology that allows you to predict that which pages you're going to click next, and we can preload them. So that is part of the Angular technology. I will showcase that in a few minutes. Second thing is, once you get this kind of page, as you said before, this is also a progressive web app, like a responsive web app. So I want to show you the responsiveness of this thing. As you can see, this app, as it, you can see these banners in the top. It is a normal desktop. If you see that as it shrinks, as soon as it goes, this menu item's gone, because it want to show you less information when you have less screen resolution. Real estate is small here. So as you can see that it is moving to the bottom, the font size app, the menus becomes bottom, right? So this feature is called responsive design. You can accomplish this by knowing that what the screen, what they call screen resolution, and dynamically hiding and showing different parts of the application. So this comes from one of the library from Angular. It's also from the same Angular team called Flux Layout that helps you to manage those things. So let's go back to this, the second part, right? Once you know the landing page, if any mobile apps has to be done landing page, right? So one other thing you will see that is when I navigate here, you see the small component coming out, popping up here and disappearing, right? The whole point of this one is just to make you to go smoothly, scroll too smoothly, right? This is what I call like web components. So these kind of components you build once, you can able to reuse them across multiple applications. So you can take, like if you have one customer has maybe their theme is orange, this color, you can change this theme also. And let me show you that theme thing, right? So most of the times when you build the application, you should be able to change the theme of the applications very easily. This is one of the other techniques people use to not to read an entire application, but dynamically apply different themes. Like when I say this theme, you see that all this, all these parts is also SVG based technology. You see that when I change these colors, all the images also changing the colors. Every piece of the code has been changing the colors. So this kind of thing, people call it as a design system. You don't need to design its CSS files from the scratch. You are lucky that you can able to get this information from Google. They have something called material design. There are other companies like Spring, the company behind the VMware. They also provide something called Clover. There are other technologies to build themes very easily. So they give you all the consistent colors and themes. All you have to do is pick the right combination of themes, right? What is the primary color and the secondary color, and you can change the themes across the applications. So that's the part of this thing, right? So let me go back to the home page, right? So as you can see here, when I click here, one more thing, when I navigate, even the URL change here, technically I'm not loading any page. I can prove that to see the network traffic here. If I go back to this thing, I'm loading all the JavaScript part, and once I load it, if I navigate here, even the URL is changing. As you can see, there is no network call. This is not a new URL. This is the same URL, single page application, but this header and body and footer not changing, but the content is dynamically changing. Only I'm rendering this part again and again. This is the difference between the traditional multi-page applications versus single page. So let's go back to this login. So again, as I said, every page system has to have login. I use the cloud services to make it life easy, because you can also get for free Google login, Facebook login. This is what we call a social login mechanisms. This enables us not to force them to create a username password for every application, but let them use any standard authentication mechanism. In this case, I'm using Google as an authenticator. So as soon as I log into the system, I can able to go to the section part. This part is called a dashboard part. So in this dashboard part, this is only available after you log in, right? It is more personalized for your needs. It will also show you the products you bought or services you're paying for, right? The first page you saw is for the anonymous users. That is called landing page. This is called dashboard kind of thing. So if you become an engineer, front-end engineer, so you're predominantly designing either the landing pages, which has a less user-contributed content, more provider-contributed content. Where if you go into the dashboard area, where more user-contributed content will be there, right? Here, I want to show you some cool design features. Like, for example, as you can see here, this is all going interactively happening. And also, if you want to save more real estate, a lot of times when I build apps, I have to have more space, but I want to hide the options here. So as you can see here, I can navigate between the screens, right? So another feature I want to show you is the animations. So when you are interacting with the system, we want to give a kind of illusion in such a way that they are going in deeper. As you can see here, breadcrumbs. If I'm going into different levels, like going inside and outside, I should be able to give it that similar experience. So this gives a end user app kind of experience. What it means is we are not building websites anymore. We are building web apps. Right? Users should feel like same. They're already spoiled with the iPhone and apps because they're very interactive, very satisfactory, right? So they expect the same behavior for the mobile web apps also. So when you have the content here, this web app will show you like how you can able to interact with the system. Let me reload this guy. You should be able to. You can able to filter out the data as you type, and you can see more information. I think it should show in a tiled format, but maybe it's not working right now. But as you can see here, I built this app to show you like a typical navigation you need to build. Any application need a kind of side nav kind of thing. You also need, sometimes you need to have some more information. You can able to hide those kind of stuff on the side. So this is called side nav, and this is called the main navigation. Some people put the navigation on the side and they put in the top. It's up to you, your business requirements, right? So I showed you about this. This is another thing. Like you have to show sometimes a grid information. Here I'm showing you how you can build a dynamic application where you can able to build UI to edit some information. In a typical business scenarios, people should they have a lot of data entry systems where you can use the more user-friendly interactive forms, right? So some things you can see is I can able to drag the object. Some other areas I'll show you how to resize the pop-ups. So this, if you want to build yourself, it is a more complex process. That's why my starter kit will help you to build this kind of standard. This is a standard requirement. Like you have master detail kind of data. You want to filter out this data. For example, I want to show all male resources, female resources, or something like that. For example, I want to set this user. You see that how I'm doing when I'm typing here. The data is supposed to edit. Like as a type. It has, this is called type ahead kind of feature. So and when you're typing, we are doing like many things behind the scene. Sometimes we send a file Ajax call to the back end. Sometimes as you type second words, you don't want to wait for the response come back. You have to cancel the previous request and do the next. That kind of technologies is called, there's a design pattern we use called RxJS, reactive programming concepts. So this helps us to call the backends only after they type some certain speed. Like if they're typing like A, B, C, D or something like that, we don't want to send too much requests to the backend. So you can able to do something called down sampling. By rate limiting your requests, we can able to make less calls, but I will feel that the end user feel that they are getting data immediately. So this allows you to delete or update the records. You can click one of the record. So as I navigate the data. So when I click this data and I'm looking at, you can see that data is getting animated. This page is not replaced, but I'm able to pull only that section of the data. So if I want to select all of them, I should have an option to select multiple data, and I can edit those things. And also I have an option to select which fields I want to render. So this is a full-fledged application that anybody can use. This grid is a very common use case in the UI applications. Right? You have a filtering capability, you have a filtering the data capability, you have the options to select which columns you want to show, right? So these are all possible because I'm behind the scene. I'm using the Angular material. As I will explain to you how you can reuse the frameworks and components that developed by other people, right? So let me go back to the grid. You saw the grid benefits, and I also want to show you some animations because most of the times you can impress your customers and your project leads and business very easily because people will interact with the system. This is supposed to do interactions. I think I changed something here. Okay, let's skip to that one. Second thing is if you want to upload some files, like for example, I have this file. We want to give a better user experience. Like when I click on this, when I click on upload, I want to show that it is successful, progress, failed, all these things, right? People expect the system should react to them. When they upload their photos, they need to know like if it is failed, why it failed, or when it fails, if upload fails, the progress bar has to show them. So this is some of the examples of uploading capabilities. We all know that we can do right click, but not in the application, but not in the web apps. This is showing that within the web application, you can also right click and open a context specific menus. Second thing is virtual scrolling. You have a lot of data. It's very hard to load all of them. So this kind of technology show you how you can make like all the students, like all the people, like 400 people join this conference. I can able to load them on the fly. When they reach to the second page, we can load them, right? And we talk about sticky tables later. But other thing is I have to create some kind of gauges in my project, and I will show you how I build only these gauges as a separate application. I publish those things in NPM, and I can able to reuse that applications between the systems, right? So some other thing, it will talk about how to create your apps with layouts. It's very important to space them properly. It is very hard to do it in the past. Now we have Flux layout, and we have a new technology called Grid CSS that helps you to lay out your application no matter what screen you are looking at. Like for example, if you go to the smaller screen for the things, you will see that how this layout is automatically adjusting 2 columns. It is adjusting to 1 column, right? You see that dynamically changing those those layouts. So the other thing is sometimes I have to build a lot of dashboards. Sometimes I want to give a more customization capabilities. This will show you like app-like experience. If I have a customer that layouts their data and they want to personalize to their needs, you should be able to provide dashing experience, right? So some other thing I want to show you is when the network, when you load the network things. For example, there is a concept called I'm browsing the images, right? So right now I have this data. I'm showing you my network traffic here. As I browse, these images are loading on the fly. So what it means is within the presentation view, if their content is not needed to be displayed, you don't need to load it. This helps reduce the burden on the servers. You see all these images are loaded when I'm browsing. So this technique is very important for not only for the images, but also for any kind of content you want to load that dynamically. So this shows that examples, right? So I also want to give you an idea about something called micro interactions. Micro interactions are very important. Like you might have seen this kind of buttons in media blocks. This has like 10 different animations going on. When I mouse over, it has a behavior. It has a count. It has, when I click it, it is showing me how the data coming in, right? It's a very complex process to build yourself. But if you make this kind of component, like rating components and those things, we can able to reuse them, customize them across multiple applications. So I will be showing you a little bit about what is micro interactions in a moment and their value in the application, right? For example, these are the web components we build and they are accessible, right? So before I go there, I want to show you one other thing called chatbots, right? As I said before, a lot of applications has web application, but in Optum, we have a lot of different age group people comes into a website, and sometimes they have difficulty to find like, is this prescription covered on under my plan? find me a better provider for my area, right? They cannot navigate. They used to call the phone on the phone. They want to find out. But by adding a chatbots, which is becoming a new era of applications, we make it easier for some customers who cannot able to navigate millions of links we have on our website. Right? For example, I can say hi here. So the reason I'm showing you chatbot is it's not my intention to show you the technology, but I want to show you the UI capabilities here. I can able to drag and drop this application. This is the full single page application. This actually is a micro front-end application, like is a web component that you can able to drop into any website, and this can be served from some other service, backend service. So you can able to add a chatbot that is served from different backend than the web application, right? So here I can say hi. So you can see many things happening here. As I'm typing here, it is able to show me something here, like the type ahead thing, and the system is responding back to me. In fact, I can even talk to the system. Let me see if I can talk. Hello. You'll see that the natural language processing happening live in the browser, and that is translated into intent. We call it as a text to intent translation. There are many technologies in the neural networks world. We can able to translate it very quickly. And once it is converted in text, we call the web services. We do whatever, like how is the weather today, or that kind of stuff, right? I can say like testing, and I can customize. You can see that is, yeah. I hear back because my system is speaking back to me. Text to speech is happening real time in the browser. So this is a very cool application. You can even change the voice to anything, any specific flavor. I'm changing to the Hindi, English, Indian English here. Let's see how it will work. Testing. So we'll see, like the system can able to interact and help the people. Like we use this system to see if my patients, like customers comes in and they say like, this prescription drug is covered for me, or when is my next appointment? How can I refill my prescription? When is my refill? When is the next renewal of my prescription? So this is how people interacting with web applications. They get the response quickly. So this makes the web application into the next level. So I just wanted to show you like a different interface. So hope you enjoy that part. I'm taking you back to the presentation. Sorry, I think I took a lot of time, but again, we're coming back to you. Like I showed you the presentation. The reason I showed you the presentation is you can use that as a baseline and add your own applications. You can customize the chatbot. You don't need to build the menus. You don't need to build the sign now. You can take that code and modify it to your needs and make a different kind of application, right? So the reason I build it is I have to build many applications, and every time I keep forgetting everything I did, the optimizations. So by making my common code into that kind of starter kit, I was able to reuse that for different clients and different projects. Second thing, right now I'm going to show you like how you become a software front-end engineer. It's not easy. There are so many technologies going behind the scene for this, especially including the web workers and service workers. That's a deeper knowledge is required in that one. I will show you a little bit on that. And second thing is we'll talk about the web components, micro front-ends, and single page applications, right? And I haven't talked about micro front-end, but we'll discuss a little bit, right? So wanted to show you the tooling you need, right? When I say web components, you might have asked me what should I learn, right? This is where I learned one side. This link is given to you. This link will give you like what is the fundamental knowledge I need to have to become a web application developer. It will talk about HTML. So when you mouse over any technology here, you will see that they link to the YouTube videos or a full depth videos to give you more insights. Like HTML is required, CSS is required. You need to understand forms. You need to understand what is search engine optimization means, tags means, right? Then you will be learning about CSS. CSS is the one that gives you more colorful look, spacing of the objects and all the stuff. You will be learning about layouts, that Flex layout or CSS grid layout. You will be learning about the animations. So, and then your career will moving towards like responsive design, right? We talked about media queries, how the system can dynamically remove some objects and add some objects when you change the screen size. That is called responsive design. And CSS variables are the new trend that helps me. Like, remember that when I change the theme and color, I don't need to re-render the page. I can able to manipulate the colors of the background and objects by using CSS variables. Then you will be learning about JavaScript. You're learning about advanced JavaScript that is called ES5 or ES6. Right now they call it 2015, I think. And then you will be learning about TypeScript. TypeScript is a specialized version of the JavaScript. I don't recommend you to learn JavaScript right now. You directly go to the TypeScript. TypeScript makes it easier to build apps without having to worry about dynamic nature of JavaScript. So TypeScript is a strongly typed language. If you have VS Code, it is tightly integrated into it. And so one language I would recommend a beginners to learn, because you will be not only learning the front-end technology, you can apply the TypeScript to build the back-end technologies also. I will show you in a minute on that one. So once you learn the JavaScript, you continue with the browser technologies and learn more about current trends, right? Then you will be working on the accessibility. This is also very important because most of the popular sites should be supported for challenged users. I would prioritize that. Second thing is about web components. You will be learning about what is the benefit of web components. When I said about web reusable components, technically, if you build in a component for Angular, you cannot use it in React framework. If you build for React, you cannot use it in Vue.js. So browser industry comes up with a convention, like a standard, so that you can able to make web components interoperable between the different browsers. That is where the web components were born. It is very important and emerging technology, so I would recommend you to learn as that progress. So what makes an application progress in web apps, right? It is all about caching. Remember that when I showed my app, if I unplug the internet, I should be able to navigate the entire site very easily because everything is cached. As I said, app shell concept, entire app is loaded, but not the actual content. So content, my system will see that if there is an internet connection. If it is not connected, it will load from the cache. As soon as I have internet connection, first thing it will do is it will preload all the data. So they know that which sites I will be visiting next. It will load it. You might be asking, how do the system know about what pages you will be visiting next? It cannot read your mind, right? So there is a technology called Guess.js that we use artificial intelligence to know that what is the current common trending of the people. If they are visiting a link 1, they will see the next link, right? We analyze all the web trends and find out what is the potential possibilities, right? That's one way of loading. Second thing is, you don't click the links that is not on your page, right? So we know that exactly what links are visible on the page. We load them, preload them, so that your experience, when you click the link, your experience will be very fast. So that makes the application progressive web apps. So how do you improve the loading performance? There are a lot of techniques. It will go through the techniques. As I said, every piece of the code you see, there is a detailed blog or documentation you will learn. So I don't want to go in depth, but you will be learning slowly. You will not be learning everything like tooling and all the stuff, but this is a good part to become like, I'm talking about these things in 5 years or the 5 years of your career, right? It took me 5 years to learn all of them. Still, I don't know a lot of stuff, but so I'm also linking this one. You will be learning, you will be using this to understand and learn as much as you want, right? That's another part. So we talked about the web skills you need. We talked about web components, as I said before, build small components, reuse them across multiple projects so that you can save your investment and able to reapply the technology for multiple projects. So we talked about the benefit of reusability, right? It's predominantly, you cannot make an app reusable across multiple sites as long if you cannot customize it, you cannot resize it, or you cannot make it interoperable, right? So you have to make your apps configurable so that you can able to drop in that, like for example, my chatbot should be configurable to the healthcare industry, it should be configurable to the finance industry, right? And this is how you can use that. every web component has similar to HTML tags. You can create a custom elements. That's part of web components technology. If you want to build this thing internally, instead of building entire thing, you just use the HTML tags like this core icon, something like that, right? So that will give you an idea about how web components makes the web developers, not only web developers or non-developers, like for example, UI designers, right? They know how to use tags. They don't know about JavaScript, right? They should be able to use that. So we are also talking about micro interactions are very important because people are already spoiled to experience a better experience with mobile applications and devices. So it is our responsibility as web developers to provide such a user experience. This is where animations are very critical for a better experience web applications. It's not easy to do. There is a lot of guidelines. I have links for you, like how fast you have to animate. It is not like smooth same speed, right? You see that how that animation going. First it will go slow and it will going faster, right? There is a lot of research happened behind the scene. Google and Twitter has documented their own design guidelines. They call style guides. So you will be able to use them without spending a lot of time, right? So now we go to the micro front ends, right? So building, and imagine that entire Amazon website is built with single page, right? If anything goes wrong, so the data that you see the recommended products in the top, or maybe your previous purchases on one side, or the products that you might be interested to buy in the different side, right? They're all different small apps. So if you build it as a monolithic application, it is going to be like, if I have to update anything, you have to bring entire site down and recreate everything. I lose the cache that is I already build into the browser. So there is a lot of side effects to do that. So instead of doing that, we are talking about something called micro front ends, right? You can able to build different teams, can build different sections of the application. We can compose them in 3 different areas. One of the way to compose them is server-side composition of the micro front ends. The other way is you can also have a runtime composition, right? You build them, you host them separately. This is hosted on different side. This is hosted on different side. This is hosted on other application, right? You can compose them at the edge. Edge means when I say edge, it is maybe a proxy server close to you. That's where it can compose and act like a single application. The third way of doing it is composing them in the browser. So there are also trade-offs between all the 3 options. It's a wide topic, but for now, I want to give you what the microfronts is and how it is going to impact the future of the web. Right. So we're coming to the end of the story here. So yes, you told me a full stack engineer. How can I make an app like a front end and back end together? Sometimes when you do front end and back end, is it possible to share the code? Like for example, you have a short or like a array reversing an array algorithm. You want to use it for both back end service and front end. I know that you are using one language like TypeScript here to write your modules, and it is totally possible to do that. So this is my view of making a monorepo, single repo that hosts the micro applications. We call it micro front ends. Like you build a data access layer, one layer. On top of that, each feature. For example, if I'm building a airlines applications, online boarding is one application. Then I have check-in is one other application. I have baggage claims is another application, right? You can build a different features. Then you can compose those features into different micro front ends. Imagine that I have a mobile app. I don't need all the features for mobile app. I can use a few of those features. I can have a different front end for completely different scenario, like web application scenario. I can expose more services for them. So it is because you split your application into components, you can able to assemble them into for the different front end requirements, mobile front end versus web front ends, right? Then ultimately you can able to build them to the UI applications. For example, you have a different, for example, you have a car dealership application. There is a page where end users can browse the cars. The second thing is the dealers can able to sell you cars. Like there is an application form that's a dealer only application, end user only applications, right? Still they are target for different customers, but you can able to share the components you invested into different features across the different applications also. So this is my vision of how you can make code that is shared between different micro front ends, and the same thing micro services, and you deploy them as like maybe a cloud functions here, the backend services, and front end as maybe static content you host it on a CDN network, and you can able to make an application out of it, right? So I will show you that how we can build with my template. It is a full stack application. And this part I want to show you, like when you deploy an application, it's not the end of the story. Your front-end application is built it is running on entirely, all the Angular thing we talked, it is running in the browser, but it has to serve from some server, right? Initial page has to be loaded. So you have to build a web server or a kind of a gateway that will not only serve the static content, but also proxy the backend services. You might be hosting my account management into one microservice. You might be hosting a chatbot in a different microservice, right? This is the best practices. Split your application into separate applications so that you can able to partially release them ongoing process. That we call a blue-green deployment or a continuous deployment model. You also need authentication. I would recommend to use OpenID Connect or WAP. That's a standard spec to interact with identity systems like Google login or Facebook login or Apple login, all that stuff. Okay, so I'm I think throwing a lot of information, but I wanted to give you this information because I built an app just because I was asked to. I went to an interview and they asked me to present. This is the challenge they gave me. Like, so this is the new model of interviewing process. People ask you to write. They give you a challenge and take home assignments, and they want me to build a game. In US we have something called Connect 4. The kids play here. It's a board game, and they have so many constraints like this. They tell me like the people should be able to log in and anonymously and play the game, right? The game should have if they connect to four points in the game, they should be able to win, right? They need to track. It also need to have a leaderboard system where you can see who is winning and who is losing. And it also need to retain the data. They also put me a constraint that it should support 10,000 daily users and their monthly cost should be less than $50, right? So they throw me a lot of restrictions and they want to see how I design this application and they want to know how depth I understand both front and back end. So I took this challenge and I built this Angular app because I like the UI and the backend is, as I said before, this is called Nest.js. Nest.js is the backend. So you can see that in the apps folder, you can see the API at the backend, and the front end is the web application, the UI application, right? So it's a full stack app. It needs a database. It needs a backend to run, and backend is running on Node.js. You can run this app. If you check out this project, you can run everything in the laptop. I have the step-by-step instructions here. I wanted to show you this game, right? The reason I want to show this game is the young people like you are more interested to see non-traditional application, but you want to build an app. Here, I'm starting a game here. I opened a different browser, real time, right? So as soon as the game is started, the system is able to discover that there is a new game is available. So people can join another site, and there are a lot of challenges here. So they want me to build in such a way that there should not be a backend. They should have a browser-to-browser interaction, like peer-to-peer interaction here. And for that, I'm using WebRTC technology to stream the data between the browsers without having the server as a man in the middle. As you can see here, once you fill that for one of the guy wins, then you have to communicate back to the other guy as a closer, right? I'm using WebSockets to communicate very quickly here. And the system is able to show if somebody leaves the page in the middle, the other guy has to go away from the game, right? This is how I build the application, and I hope like you can learn and also enjoy this application yourself. And all the GitHub links I told you about this Angular app is called NGX Starter Kit. You can able to clone this. I appreciate if somebody create an app and maybe fork this thing and maybe send me a PR. Yes. Oh, sorry. All right. Okay, I'm going back to the deck. So we talked about this and the challenges. I also want to give you an idea about there is something called stack bits because you are a developer and you don't want to set up a complex system. Wanted to give you this link. So this is an online browser. So even though if you don't have complex systems to build, it allows you to write code directly and experience yourself. So a lot of people has difficulty to set up their laptops to even start development, right? That's where I want to give this a very fantastic online browser. So where Angular app is already started for you, right? You go and edit the things simply here. This is the simplest Angular app. You created a component. I have the variable here, name, and I'm dynamically getting the version from Angular. It's printing nicely here. So this is called data binding. So you have a component in Angular. You have the UI, the page, where you put the variable into double flower brackets. So as the variable changes, this rendering automatically re-renders that for us. That is the power of Angular. It has a two-way data binding and makes the web application development experience very easy. So what you are gaining with that is you don't need an IDE, you don't need to have a Node.js and all the stuff on your laptop. You open this browser and build and start building applications, and learning is very easy for you guys. So, and second thing is I have my starter kit here. You can clone it and start the entire application on your laptop, right? The other thing I want to introduce to you is differentiate yourself. Don't always build a boring web application, right? You have to build something that's more attractive. This is one of my friend security in Texas. They build a security app for some customers, seeing that how the hackers enter in the system. They build a nice UI. I wanted to show you this because web apps are very creative, and it is not always technology. It's a creativity and thoughtfulness is very important to build a commercial, powerful applications. So coming to the end, I want to give you an idea about web technology is growing. So today we are in the Web 2 technology. In the future, we are going towards something called Web 3 technologies. So everything is centralized server-based system right now. Future is decentralized. They call that D-apps, called decentralized apps. So where you right now you're using Twitter, Facebook. In the future, you will have different kind of technologies where Twitter and Facebook will not be centrally managing you. So you got liberty from them, right? So it's a blockchain-based technologies are going to replace them. So I just want to give a heads up on that. Second thing is most of the developers right now writing code as a backend as a REST APIs. That is again, it's very very verbose. It's not computer friendly, not human friendly, but not computer friendly. There's a new protocol called gRPC, Google RPC. They call Google RPC. Some people call gRPC is a recursive acronym called gRPC, remote procedure call. So this is a replacement for REST. I would encourage you guys focus on this because this is going to cut down a lot of cost on human-friendly REST APIs and make you to go towards the gRPC. I have a demo application on the gRPC side. It's called AT on GitHub. I'm going to give you a link. So you will learn that how to build the end-to-end gRPC applications from the browser all the way to the database. Right. So we talked about that, and I think we're coming to the conclusion here. So yeah, thank you very much for your attention and patience to wait for a long time. Yeah. Right. So most important thing is like failure is inevitable. What matters is how you deal with failures, right? You always expect design for failure, not for success, right? In such a way that you don't have surprises. You always nothing is guaranteed in the IT world, right? Servers go down, power will be pulled. Even though if you write a perfect code, you have to plan for failures. So that is the only way you can able to succeed. That is my experience from last 10 years. Right? And this is the place where you can find a lot of links, all the things I talked about today. And I know that it is a lot of information, overwhelming, but as I said before, there is a link I gave you called Path to the Web Applications. It will guide you step by step what technologies you need to learn to be a productive developer. Hope you enjoy the presentation. Thank you very much. So I'm giving the control back.
Hello.
I know you have a lot of questions. We have a lot of time to answer you. You can reach me directly also.
Any questions? Participants?
Did I take too
Good
much
morning,
time?
sir.
It looks like 9:45 for me.
Good morning, sir. I am Karthik from MCAT, CSE branch. Hello.
Yeah, carry
Hi,
on.
Karthik. Hi, Karthik.
Sir, why Kubernetes is used, sir? Could you explain, please? I cannot get information from Google, so it is lot of stuff in Google.
Okay. I'll give you a very short thing, right? Kubernetes. I was a system engineer for a long time. The biggest challenge in operations, data center operations, is when you deploy an app, virtualization is very critical, right? We are not buying servers on the fly when you release the product. We are buying a bulk of servers, and then I want to place the workloads on any of those servers. If I need to have an orchestrator of microservices to manage them for me, right? For example, I deploy an application. I'll say that my expected state is I need to have 2 web servers, 2 databases, 4 application servers. That is called my expected state. And what Kubernetes will take care is, if any one thing goes wrong, it will bring back to the actual state. If the actual state differs from the expected state, for example, one of the server gone down, my expected state is 4 application servers. So it will constantly watch the system. Sumant wanted 4 servers. Right now, for some reason, it's only 3 servers are lying. Let me start it automatically for you. So that is the beauty of the automation happened in recent years with the accomplishment of the Docker, and also Kubernetes is the runtime. Kubernetes we call like a cloud OS operating system, like how your laptop or computers manage your apps on your laptop, right? That's the story behind.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Any more? Yeah. Any next questions? Yeah, feel free to, as I said before, shy is a very dangerous thing, right? Be fearless. Fearless is very important. When you lose the shy, you will be fearless. It is very essential to be successful. There is nothing questions called stupid questions, right? Everything has the value there.
Yeah, good morning, sir. I meant to say for you, it might be good evening. Hello.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, carry on.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sir, how can we see the difference between a Web 2.1 and Web 3.0?
Of course, I got that picture from Google. I know I can have a link there. The Web 3.0 is a different story. So Web 2.1, what we are living from last 10 to 15 years is called Web 2.1. The reason we call it is there is a central system, right? All your emails are at Google. All your photos or posts are controlled by Facebook. All your TikTok stuff is managed by the different company, right? So how do you, they are monitoring, you are the product. When they give you a free product, you are the product, right? They are making money out of you, right? How do I, if somebody show me advertisement, they are making money, Google making money, why can't I make money, right? That is where the new trend is coming in, right? If I watch certain number of advertisements, if Google is making money, they have to give me a share of the money. That's where Web3 technology is there. So to make the Web3 technology possible, they have to have untrusted systems which has to talk to each other. So for example, you cannot trust only the Google. You are working with 2 different products that don't trust each other. So that's where the blockchain and the dApps are becoming popular. So you will find a lot. It is very early stage for dApps. I have been hearing about last 2 years, but nothing is solidifying because it's a very complex process. Decentralized systems in a trustless world is a complex system, right? You will see like the interview I got it, that is done by an Indian woman. She started a company called True Story. She interviewed me and she was building a blockchain based solution called how do you make fake news and versus real news different, right? It's a community consensus based product they're building. It's a lot of topic on that. I would recommend you to go through my link. It will give you an idea about what the Web3 technologies look like. It talks about interplanet content management systems and so many stuffs like that.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, please. Welcome.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a doubt. if we are entering some details in the web applications like name, gender, etc.
Okay.
Yeah, all the details are stored in database. Can a programmer can edit the data, sir?
If it is stored in database, generally in bigger organizations, there is a separation of responsibilities. This is the important thing is privacy is very critical for a lot of companies, right? If you cannot manage the data, like PII data, personal identification data in healthcare world, and financial sector, your financial data, they should not be exposed to developers. We put a lot of restrictions, privacy preserving encryption. We call like a privacy preserving encryption or format preserving encryption and homomorphic encryption in such a way that data is encrypted in the browser itself. So the data, when it reaches to other part, we haven't seen the technology, but we are building something called client-side encryption with with smart cards, right? You use the it's got two-factor authentication cards. You use them. With that client side, you are the only person process the private key. Like data, once it enters into our data centers, nobody knows other than you. So if you want to read back, only you are the person can read it. So it is totally possible that even the web hosting companies cannot able to see your data. Yeah, I would recommend to go research that one. It is very elegant. There is a research going on by Microsoft. It's called homomorphic encryption. So the challenge with the encryption data is you cannot fetch the encrypted data, right? So there is a growing database technologies research going on in that area.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very good question, by the way. Yeah, I'm very glad to see you guys are asking very, very intelligent questions, and I know you guys are ahead compared to a lot of folks I work with and represented in the past.
Any more questions, participants?
You can ask me anything, like what movies I like or anything.
That should be more interesting also.
Hey, so Sumant, now you made me active, okay? Because you mentioned the word movie.
Yeah, please.
So
Sneha,
so
go ahead.
you have the starter kit, right? You have the starter kit, and there are certain guidelines,
Okay.
and you know how they can make it. Let's say if some of the students of Shobha comes forward and they use your starter kit, would you be able to guide them on how to build a website by using the concepts that you have mentioned?
Of course, yes. So it is designed in such a way that we've gone through a lot of like regression, because our developers ask me a lot of questions. Like I started doing something called Gitbook. If I publish the documentation here, it created a nice GitHub, and Gitbook is very nice place where you could start different layouts here. Do you guys see my screen? Here I'm showing you like introduction, getting started guide. So what you need to install, right? The minimal software system you need to build, right? What is the folder structure it needs? How do you folder a project from the zero, from zero system, right? It goes through a lot of documentation, and I think it is self-guided, but I will definitely able to guide you some more. There's a lot of material because I keep updating. This is not our day-to-day. This is like last 4 or 5 years of documentation there.
A follow-up
you can do it. Anybody can do write the apps.
Yeah. When they're building, let's say they use your documentation and then they go through that, they start working on that. Let's say if they're building, like, I'm, from where I'm coming from. And, if they are going to do a lot of videos uploading into a single page, do you think there will be any streaming issues, and how comfortable, what are the things that they need to pay attention if they are building a site where there is a lot of heavy load on the page?
Yes. So the content, when you have a heavy load, as I said before, my apps are loaded in the browser. So once it is loaded into this, see, for example, if I'm going to Amazon all the time, most of the content is like my styles, CSS, everything is loaded, right? So if I have content, I will do something called edge-side caching. What it means is I will distribute my media to something called CDNs, the content distribution networks. They are like kind of hosted service. You can use the cloud service providers. So when you upload them, instead of uploading them to your server, which is very big, you upload to the systems like Netflix, how Netflix is able to distribute the content to local servers, right? So if I open this page in India, there is a CDN that hosts my video or my heavyweight images there. So it will be better experience from India side. Same thing if it is on Singapore, there is a different content distribution provider. So it basically the way it works is you build a web app, you go through a process of build process where you distribute your content to different content. Like Akamai is one of the company. Similarly, there are a couple of companies that they distribute the content for you. So a lot of people don't know about it. I know that a lot of like a low-cost bank web applications don't know about it, and it is very kind of slow loading websites. So that can be avoided completely with that.
Shobha, you just got an idea from what he was telling. All the webinars that you are going to conduct in future, you can actually add it to your college website by using these principles and also fine tuning the streaming.
Hey, I want to show you
Sure.
something cool here. The web technology here, I can see that here. The JavaScript is more powerful. It has an AI platform. Here we are running the TensorFlow-based JavaScript library. It is able to detect my position here. So imagine in myself, like I can able to move my hand here and navigate my web page. Like I want to play a music like by doing hand gestures, right? So it is totally possible. So the college kids now don't need to worry about the old style of interface, but go with a modern TensorFlow and those kind of techniques. There are a lot of libraries available. It's up to your imagination how you can build a system, right? For me, I can use this web technology. Probably I can use sign language to communicate, right? My hand gestures can be translated into natural events. So much potential for that.
Suman, did you just mention that they can actually use the tensor technologies and they can also incorporate voice and other biometrics when they're building it and add AI on top of it?
Of course, the web technology is not anymore the content and boring websites, right? They are very interactive now. There are web apps, right? You can have a content. Imagine that you have to build a game, and I want to play the game like with my hand gesture, right, on the website. So I should be able to implement that kind of technology very easily. So yeah.
Awesome. So for students,
yeah. I'm talking about not to build the AI, but you can use the models. Like you don't have to be AI engineer, but you can use the models. Think of models as a pre-trained single purpose objects, right? Here this model is called PosNet, right? That is able to detect like at least 27 points of a human parts. And you can able to, that is available for your program, you can able to programmatically intercept those information.
Awesome. So the students who are actually planning to do their final year or final SEM project as part of their academic curriculum, instead of doing a monotonous way, you can actually think about the real-time applications, and you can definitely develop something useful for your college, for yourself, and you can build a much stronger resume.
Of course, yeah. It is the easy. Don't worry about. Don't think about like it's difficult. I'm saying that there's only two types of engineers. The engineers that is current, the engineers that are outdated, right? Most of us as senior software engineers, we might be not up to date. Except myself, I always keep track of the current trends. It is your opportunity. There is coming late is not mean doesn't mean like you are anything new, right? You can able to do even better things than a senior engineer. In fact, if I had this technology when I'm in college, I should have made a lot of money. So you guys are sitting there means you're losing a lot of opportunity to make money. So this is one of the tracking technologies. This is the library we used. So technically, you should be able to use this to build our markets in India. Like a variety of applications. Like a lot of people are staying at home right now, right? You need to make business models that fit to our requirements in India.
A advice to the academician. Sure, if you think about it, right, our education system, even though it's great, we are more into the service type. Like, we are actually producing the employees by applying what is the business problem to the technology. We can actually create employers. This is where the innovation and the employer pitch comes into. This is actually the best time for the students to think what they can do differently than being another developer versus they can create the new applications, and a lot of tools are available. They can definitely make use of this.
Exactly, Sneha.
Yep. I also have a website called from Google. It's Google Experiments. I would recommend. I try to teach my daughter. She's just only 12 years, but she's not interested. She's playing with her slime now. So it's very elegant solutions. There is examples for different age groups, right? Especially AI is not anymore like for experts, but common people can able to use that in their day-to-day life. So I would recommend to go to visit, especially students, for getting ideas on building the college projects.
Awesome, Sumant.
Yeah, that's very good. Any more questions from participants?
Sir, another question.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Sir, this web application has security, sir?
Yes, there are a couple of ways of concepts of security in the demo app I have. It's called authentication and authorization. There is two parts, right? First, you need to know who is connecting to your application. Like they are who they claims to be. Is it Sumant logged in or is it somebody else, right? That's called authentication. The second part of security is authorization. You saw my application. If before I click this homepage, if I go to and log out, I cannot even log in because this URL is protected, right? Getting to the dashboard is protected. Like even if I go to here now, once I logged out, it is forcing me automatic login, right? Even if I log in here, I'll show you something here. Right? I know that it's going to be slow for you, but if there is a link called admin here, when I click here, you can see in the bottom saying that you have to log in something with ngx admin and ngx, and I'm putting the password because it's a demo app, but I'm not letting to go to the page. This is called authorization. So authentication and authorization plays hand in hand to protect your application. But always remember that browser side protection doesn't mean like backend protection. People can bypass this. If they're hackers, they can right click and find what the endpoints I'm clicking. They can able to see it. This is just to protect them as or a non-technical person, but hackers can able to still go there. That's where I remember that when I show you my picture, there is a gateway for API. So we internally use something called JSON Web Tokens. The tokens has a lifetime and it is single purpose. So if they get a login for financial part of application, they cannot take this token and go to maybe HR department, right? So their authentication systems are built in. We are using a standard industrial standard technology called OpenID Connect. And I would recommend use that. It is very easy to use. It's there are a lot of libraries and service providers.
Sir, another question.
One second. Sumant, when you're talking about security, do you want to talk about the encryption, application security versus data security?
Of course, yeah, that is very important point. We are talking about transport or user access control. It's called ACLs, access control mechanism, right? That doesn't mean like there is 4 things in security. I don't want to go in details. Data privacy means data is only visible to who it is intended to see. Data origin authentication means this is sent by right person. For example, if you send a digitally signed document, right? I want to make sure that it is coming from exactly from someone, because signature-based systems like like symmetric encryption mechanisms, you can able to verify the signature and find out it is sent by right person. That's the second part, right? And third part is data at rest and data at motion. We use the SSL basic transport for data and motion. We use the encrypted data source. In most of the companies like healthcare and financial things, we don't store our data in an unencrypted manner. We use a lot of techniques. I don't want to disclose details, but we do field level encryption, record level encryption, homomorphic encryption, and different techniques. They may come in our masters or something level details.
Yeah, for the students, when you are talking about this specific point, you might be learning a lot of subjects as part of your curriculum. You'll be learning about databases, you'll be learning about algorithms, you'll be learning about network security. All the principles at some point will come together to protect your system and to build more reliable and secured applications. So that's where, like, when Sumant started, he said, like, understanding your core subjects in engineering, and you may not understand the value where it comes into, but down the lane you will use them. This could be one of those areas.
Well said.
Sir, I have one question. I'm Dr. Lakshmipati Rao.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do we know these days there are so many apps coming up? How do we know the authenticity and trustworthiness of these apps? Because recently Google stores also removed so many apps saying that they are not trustworthy. So a layman, how to know? I'm not talking from the technologist point of view. For a layman, how to know whether an app is trustworthy?
Authenticity of the
authenticity.
Yeah. Apps are very different. Yeah. Apps are very different, but nowadays browsers are coming, like when you click here, it will there is different color coding here for the laymen to understand, but not every browser is doing that. But I'm hoping that very soon we are going to get a detailed description, like, is this website trusted, right? Is it known? Like, not only just SSL certificate is passing, but you want to know reputation of that site, right? So that's one way. Apps, when you ask for apps, the predominant way of authenticating the apps, genuineness of the app is app signing, right? Everybody to submit the app store, they have to be signed. And the only way you know is if you trust them and if you install the app with app stores, you might be protected. But Apple and even some people are bypassing Apple security and even Android security. They are side-loading apps, right? So don't install any free software. Believe me, nobody want to give you for free. If they are installing something, that means they are stealing something from you. That's a typical hacker wall they do.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, you can install the reputation based. See, this is where the community is contributing, right? If there is not any stars, people don't installing that much. People don't install them, right? The problem of the side effect is if you have a genuine app and nobody is going to install it because you are not popular, right? That's also side effect for some genuine applications. It's a bigger problem in a sense, right?
Dr. Shobha, I think you can propose vote of thanks if there are no other questions.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. On behalf of Methodist College of Engineering, I extend lots and lots of gratitude and appreciation to Mr. Sumant Chintagunta for this excellent, exceptional, exhaustive, informative session. I'm sure this will be of great help to the participants. Mr. Sumant, we look forward to many more such sessions in future. I extend my heartfelt thanks to my friend and Sumant's colleague, Mrs. Sneha Talika, a multifaceted dynamic woman, movie producer, writer, entrepreneur. She has been instrumental in helping me out with this session in a big way and also made this session more interesting and lively. It should be past 1 a.m. for them now, and we appreciate their service and their motto of giving back to the society. Even though they had a deadline to chase this week, they have dedicated their valuable time to us as per the previous commitment. I cannot thank them enough for this. The Department of ECE thanks Correspondent Krishna Rao sir, Director Lakshmipati sir, Principal Prabhu sir, and the Dean Venkateshwar Rao sir for their everlasting encouragement and support. So, last but not the least, the faculty of ECE department who have been instrumental in organizing this, and the logistic team led by Mr. Sanand, Yadav, Maharshi is of great help, and I thank them. Last but not the least, the lots and lots of thanks goes to the participants who have participated in big numbers, and big thanks to every one of you. Have a good day, everyone. I also request all of you to participate in the next coming up session on the next Saturday on cloud computing by an expert in cloud computing, Mr. David Gorin from Atlanta, which is coming up on next Saturday. We will inform you that in a short period of time. I thank everyone, and Mr. Sumant and Sneha in particular, thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Shobha
much.
and
I hope the students
management.
get some.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suman.
Thank you all. It's my pleasure to meet you all, and it's my opportunity to dedicate some people to motivate in IT career.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you, Suman. Bye.
Thank you, Suman. Thank you, Shobha, and thank
Have
you,
a nice
management.
weekend for you guys. Enjoy.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.